Welcome into the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. We'll be here with you for the next couple of hours from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes as we touch on sports topics of local, regional, and national interest. So stick around. Promises to be fun as always. Isn't that right, Wade?
Always good to be with everybody on a Monday and a lot to dive into. I'm excited about our show today and excited to kind of kick off what should be a good week as we kind of ever so quietly, we're already close to halfway through the month of June, my friend.
Man,
it's crazy to think about.
That's I'm not even sure I want to think about that, to be honest, but yeah, you're right. Here's something that I had to sit down and count out yesterday while I was working on content for this week's Main Street Murray print edition. Wade, this Friday we will be 10 Fridays from the start of the high school football regular season in the state of Tennessee.
Now we're talking.
I mean, there are those that will be excited to know that number. There are those that will be a little depressed to know that number. Count me in the latter. I mean, goodness, we have barely gotten away from the 23-24 school year, and already the 24-25 school year is staring us right in the face. So it'll be fun. I just wish it wasn't getting here so quickly.
I'm with you. And it's funny you mentioned that because, yeah, literally yesterday I mapped out the Giles County High School schedule in my BAC. That's all that's what it's called. But it's the last word is calendar. I'll let you figure out what the rest is. It's in terms of its size. And, mapped out the Titans home games. And yeah, then it dawns on you every year like, holy crap, this thing sneaks up on you. I'm like,
I'm not even sure it sneaks up on you at this point.
Yeah. It
just kind of smacks you in the face.
You're just like blindsided. You're like, holy smokes. And I heard a podcast last week talking about the number of days. I think we're under 100 to either the start of college football or the first preseason NFL game or something. And it's just kind of wild to think about in the grand scheme of things.
It is wild and not so wacky, but yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, we'll not be talking a whole lot of high school football today, but we will be talking some NFL. There's a couple of nuggets in our grab bag that we're going to touch on here at the end of the show. In the second hour, we will be joined by Mississippi Braves, for now, play-by-play announcer Chris Harris. The M Braves are leaving Pearl, Mississippi, which is a suburb of Jackson, at the end of this season, moving to Columbus. And I'm going to talk to Chris a little bit about that upcoming move. Also talk to him a little bit about yesterday's Brave starter, Hurston Waldrop, and the other rookie that we've seen here recently as well, both of whom recently were in M Braves uniforms. So just kind of talk to him a little bit about what he's seen out of the Mississippi Braves and what he's hearing about the Atlanta Braves, because I don't know how much news trickles down to him, but things don't look great right now for the big club. But looking forward to visiting with him again in the second hour. In our next segment, we will be joined by friend of the show, Ryan McGee of ESPN, huge Men's College World Series fan. And of course, the Men's College World Series starts up this weekend, and so we're going to visit with him, get his thoughts on what we should expect here over the next couple of weeks out in Omaha. So, and it's always fun when we get Ryan on. Looking forward to that. Wade, do we have a screenshot of your autograph that you got from him at last year's SEC Football Media Days?
That's a good question. I need to go fish that out of the book cabinet here.
Absolutely.
It was fun catching up with him, and I brought the book earlier in the week at Media Days and told you and Chris Yao, said, hey, if I see Ryan McGee, I'm going to get him to autograph this thing. And sure enough, we saw him, and he was gracious enough to autograph the book. Really cool guest, fun guy. You guys have spent a lot of time with him, much more than I have, and it was fun in that short stint that I got to talk to him. So I'm looking forward to today as well.
I think we've actually got a picture of Ryan signing your book. So we'll see if we can come up with that between now and the next segment as well. We'll be talking a little NBA, a little NHL as the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals each took place over the weekend. And again, the grab bag, a lot going on that kind of deserves our attention here, and we'll be getting to some of that at the end of the show. So looking forward to all of that. Wade, I guess we should now that we've kind of lined out the show, give our guests this weekend's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Hey, gang, want to tell you guys that the Monday Rundown is brought to you by our friends at Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education right there in Murray County. So give them a call today at 931-388-5831, or you can visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. That's Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Major League Baseball action from the weekend for our favorite teams. The Braves dropped 3 to the Nationals, 2-1 on Friday, 7-3 on Saturday, and 8-5 yesterday. The Astros took 2 of 3 over the weekend out at the Los Angeles Angels. Down in the Angels, 7-1 on Friday and 6-1 on Saturday before falling 9-7 in yesterday's finale. Giles County Little League All-Star Classic wrapped up on Friday. Wow.
Crazy.
Game 6 in 7 innings. The National League downs the American League 6-5, forcing that winner-take-all Game 7. The 2 best words in sports, supposedly. Game 7. It wasn't for the American League, because the National League, with an 11-1 Game 7 victory, overcame a 3-0 deficit to win the Giles County Little League All-Star Classic. This is a classic that will go down in Giles County Little League history. Will it not, Wade?
I mean, hey, you would think so. As you got a 3-0 lead, it should be pretty safe. And props to all the kids, obviously, first of all. This was a fun event. But props to the National League. They were down 3-0, and they were down to their final out 2 different times in this series, and came back and won 4 in a row to get the series win, which was crazy and kind of wild for a series of close games that the final one ends up being a blowout, like you said, 11-1 on Friday night. But I guess they were rolling. Game 6, Mo, you'll get a kick out of this. It ends in crazy fashion with the rarely seen walk-off hits batsman.
Oh.
A run was walked in to tie it, and then with the bases loaded, a batter was plunked. So that's
tough. That's a tough way to lose one. Yeah. No hit batters involved in the Sounds 6-5 win Friday over visiting Louisville. Louisville comes back on Saturday for a 4-2 victory before the Sounds deal the Bats a resounding 14-3 victory to close out that series. The Sounds win the series 4-2 with that win. 14-3 Nashville over Louisville on Sunday. Go ahead, Wade.
As we roll into WNBA action this weekend on Friday night, it was the Fever defeating the Mystics. That was 85-83. Los Angeles Sparks knocking off Dallas 81-72. 1-point win for the Mercury as they defeated the Lynx 81-80. Seattle defeats Las Vegas 78-65. That capped your Friday games. Rolling into Saturday now, the Liberty knocked off the Sun 82-75. The Dream defeating the Sky 89-80. Now into Sunday action. Games played yesterday. Liberty bouncing Washington. It was a little closer than most might have thought. 93-88 was your final there. Phoenix dispatched the Wings 97-90. Minnesota all over Seattle 83-64. And the Aces fell to the Sparks. I had to do a triple take at that score because there was a lot of points given up by the Aces. They give up 96 points and they fall, Mo, 96-92. Bonus score, talk about a lot of points, 57-54. The Nashville Cats go on the road and get a big win out in Billings on Saturday night.
Huge win. Two things. One, I believe the Cats scored on the final play of the game for that win. Two,
Wow.
Vegas coach Becky Hammond was tossed from that Sparks game. So maybe that had something to do with the big points. Anyway, today's schedule, the Astros continue their West Coast swing. They are up at, it's not Pac-Bell, but they are at San Francisco taking on the Giants. That's an 8:45 start. You can see it on MLB Network and in the WNBA. The Fever is at the Sun. That is a 6 o'clock tip. Not sure where, if anywhere, it's being televised, but they are playing. Again, 6 o'clock Central Time, Indiana at Connecticut, and that is your rundown. Top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly over in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch items that are available until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And we got a couple of them, actually. One trickled out over the weekend. One came about here earlier today, scrolling through Twitter as we are wont to do. The Team USA women's basketball Olympic team for Paris later this summer has been announced. The 12-player roster for that event, and there is a certain WNBA rookie who is not included on that roster, and as you can well imagine, all hell has broken loose on social media as a result.
You're talking about Cameron Brink, right?
Exactly. That's exactly who I meant. Yeah, no, I'm talking about
Cardoso for the Sky.
I'm talking about Kate Martin's former college teammate.
Go Ace, man. Yeah, you said it best. All hell has broken loose with that news that was trickling out at first, and then once the dam broke, it was the floodgates were opened.
Yeah,
over the weekend.
And obviously, a case could be made for Caitlin Clark being named to this team. Now, don't let the fact that she didn't attend tryouts get in the way. Also, might Caitlin Clark be a little tired? I mean, every competitor wants to compete. I get that. Every competitor wants to compete at the highest possible level. I understand her being disappointed not being named to the Olympic team. But on top of everything else, might this not be the best thing for her?
It would have been real interesting. Presumably, if she were to have made the team, she would have accepted the invitation. But yeah, I mean, that is, we've talked a couple weeks ago and months ago about how kind of cool as a fan and as a spectator it is that the college basketball season, and especially as much attention as this particular season has gotten, kind of just bleeds right into WNBA time. And so in that sense, as a fan and as a spectator, it's been phenomenal. But you're talking about a young lady that played a lot of minutes, went, all the way to the final game of the season, and then quickly turned around and is now trying to learn and figure out and navigate a whole new league that's a lot tougher, a lot more physical. So, yeah, that it certainly would have been fascinating. I presume she would have accepted a bid, but it would have been interesting to see if how much tread is on those tires, because, man, she has played a lot of minutes in the last couple months for sure.
Here's something that deserves to be considered as well. If she had made this roster, how much playing time was she going to get? Which begs the question, which is worse, her not being on the team or her being on the team and not playing?
That's an interesting thing to think about. And the crazy part about this, Mo, is that we're talking about Team USA women's basketball, who's won, what did I hear? 7 golds in a row. So
yeah.
The standard is set pretty high. And so, you know, she's in a unique spot because I think everybody realizes that she's got the chops and is a bona fide superstar. So it's not as if you see this sometimes with these NBA guys, like we've discussed, you know, getting that bid, whether they play or not, kind of means a lot in terms of their reputation going forward in the league. She's kind of set. She's straight with that. So being on the end of the bench, you know, I don't know. I can make a compelling case, I think, for either argument. But yeah, with as loaded as this team is, and with gold aspirations basically being the only aspirations,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much PT she would have got. I mean, that's a fair question.
She leads the WNBA, according to this article on The Athletic, with 67 turnovers, and the Indiana Fever now have as many wins, 3, as Clark has technical fouls.
Yeah, they're not good.
They're not great. She's putting up numbers, but the biggest numbers she's putting up are, you know, the turnstiles and TV ratings. And here's an interesting paragraph from this article on The Athletic. Here's a challenge to reporters who would only have gone to cover Clark or fans who were planning to tune in only to watch her. Go write about two-time defending champion Asia Wilson, watch Brianna Stewart's sky over defenders, and take in the uniqueness and physicality of Alyssa Thomas's game. See Kalia Copper, a finals MVP who proved again late on Friday night that she can captivate crowds with her late-game heroics. Watch Diana Taurasi, who will be playing for her 6th gold medal. There are plenty of other reasons to watch and stories to dive into. I mean, so for the people who have said proudly that their only reason to watch Team USA in women's basketball in the Olympics is Caitlin Clark, you're not working very hard. Because there's plenty of other reasons to watch if basketball is your thing. Now, if Caitlin Clark is your thing, then okay, she won't be there. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's and the folks that have that opinion but are open about that opinion, I'm cool with. You know, if you're like, hey, I'm a Caitlin Clark fan, I really don't care much about the rest, I'm okay with that. But when you kind of disguise it a little bit, that's where I kind of fall off with the disingenuity a little bit from some of the folks. Because you're right, this team is loaded. There are great players. And if nothing else, it speaks to the level of competition that, hey, we're talking about a really great player, most likely your rookie of the year, that just quite couldn't crack the roster this year. Obviously, you're thinking, you know, knocking on wood, hoping to have a long, safe, successful career. So there will be presumably other opportunities.
You would think. You would like to think. Yeah.
And so it's kind of, some tea leaves are being read, and we're kind of peeling back behind the weeds a little bit, kind of where people really sit or where they stand. But like if someone came out and said, hey, I'm just really only interested in watching her play, you know, that's not really my level of fandom or, you know, my what I'd like to hear, but I respect that part at least. But when you're kind of disguising it, oh yeah, I'm a huge WNBA fan, and then you're all up in arms about Caitlin Clark, or the only topic kind of brought up is CC, then it's just a little disingenuous.
Just a little. We're going to get into this a little bit more tomorrow in the 220 segment with Doug Feinberg of the Associated Press. So looking forward to having him on and getting his thoughts regarding the women's basketball Olympic team, the WNBA, and Caitlin Clark. So be sure and check us out when we have Doug on tomorrow. News out of the NBA that doesn't involve Portland or Dallas. The Lakers coaching search continues without Dan Hurley. Apparently, a 6-year, $70 million offer was turned down by the UConn coach, who will instead stay in stores and pursue a 3rd consecutive NCAA championship. And, Wade, this has been something that you and I have talked about here over the last few days, and we've both been in conversations with other folks on this topic. The Lakers may not be as great a job as some people think it is right now. And, there's an opportunity to make, generational money by taking that job if you're Dan Hurley. But maybe money ain't everything. I don't know. It's an interesting decision.
For sure. And when you kind of glance back at this, yes, the Lakers is kind of a sweet, that's a cornerstone franchise across North American sports, a global brand.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of tarnished a little bit right now. So, but the other angle or appeal of this is you would get to coach LeBron James. And so how much of that factor potentially plays in? Because if that's something that really speaks to you, being able to coach, arguably the greatest ever, then I could maybe see that. But I'm kind of not surprised. We broke it down Thursday and Friday talking about this, and I'm kind of not surprised that Hurley doesn't take the Lakers job. But it kind of dawned on me over the weekend too, and especially today when this news comes out. You had nothing to lose. You might as well take the interview. You might as well let him get you a couple nice dinners out there. Hit a Nobu. Go check out all that LA has to offer. And if it does speak to you, then you can consider it. But if not, going back to stores doesn't seem like a bad proposition either from a man.
It's always nice to be wanted. And anytime somebody wants to show you that kind of love, there's nothing wrong with entertaining it a little bit. So I find no fault with Dan Hurley at all for the dalliance with the Lakers or with his decision not to go. So, let's take a break here from the Lee Company Studios on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, because when we come back, we will be joined by ESPN's Ryan McGee. Stay with us on the other side.
Wild horses are coming to Franklin. The Mustang Heritage Spectacular. 4 days of celebrity freestyle, liberty training, trick riding, and extreme Mustang makeover. Plus the shopping. Over 100 vendor spaces with clothing, food, home goods, and things you can't find anywhere else. All that and celebrity signings at a music stage too. June 20th through 23rd at Williamson County Ag Expo Park. Don't miss a moment with a weekend pass. MustangHeritageFoundation.org for tickets.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to Nashville Super Speedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Super Speedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective abodes on this Monday for the Monday Mirror. And while we will be doing a little looking back at the NCAA Super Regionals, we will also be looking forward to Omaha in the Men's College World Series that starts Friday. And helping us do that is ESPN's Ryan McGee. Ryan, good afternoon.
What's up, boys? How we doing?
How are you?
How we doing?
I'm good. I just got home from Nashville late Sunday night because Marty and I were there working on. So ABC will televise a big CMA Fest special in fact, it'll be probably the night of Game 3 of the NCAA of the Men's College World Series. And so he and I were interviewing country music people out there on Broadway. And man, boys, I've never seen so much denim. And actually, I tell you back, I've never seen such a lack of denim in my life. But it's crazy how much that city has changed. We had a great time and interviewed a lot of country music stars. And of course, they all know Marty. They don't know me. But we had a great time.
Such a lack of denim where denim is supposed to be.
Yeah, there's a lot, and there's so much denim. It's just there's never a whole lot of it at one place. So yeah, but we had a great time, and it's my hotel room literally from 10 o'clock in the morning until midnight was where the the bus is going by.
When did you get into town? Because we could have had you on Friday. We were live from First Horizon Park Friday afternoon.
Oh, well, I really wanted to go there, as a matter of fact, but we were stuck. We were they put us in a room at the convention center, and then we waited on. It was like, you know what? It was exactly the drill that we run when we do our talking season specials at SEC Media Day. We set up in a room, and they brought them in, and it was great. We had a great time. We talked to some huge stars. We talked to some new stars, and then we would go over to Nissan and interview people there too. So it was great. But yeah, I was locked in. So I wanted to get to the ballpark so bad, but I was.
You had that itch going.
I even had I had my hat on. I wear that I wear my Sounds hat all the time, the 3-star home plate, and I had it on all weekend.
Crossover star Ryan McGee joining us here on Main Street Sports Today. When do you leave for Omaha? I'm assuming you're going.
I am going. All right. So I don't ever go for the whole thing anymore. I used to go for 2 weeks, and now I pick either first half or second half. And now I go in second half. So I'll go in when there's 4 teams left, and I'll stay through the end. The reason is because I finally convinced I love being there at the beginning. I think opening weekend at the College World Series is the most fun place on earth. It's just the vibe, the opening ceremony is on Thursday night. I love the fact that they went back to starting on Friday. But being there when all 8 teams are there and everybody's in a good mood, it's great. But in 2021, I convinced my bosses, instead of going at the end, let me go at the beginning. And that was the year that I literally got on an airplane in flew back to Charlotte, and by the time I landed, NC State had flunked all their COVID tests, and it was like the biggest story in sports. And I was sitting in Charlotte, and so that's when we were like, you know what, maybe McGee should go at the end when it means more.
Maybe. Not meaning more, Ryan.
Yeah, it just means more. It just means more right now, doesn't it? I mean, the SEC's got, so it is the West Coast and the Northeast and the Midwest nightmare, right? Because we are going to have an all SEC versus all ACC College World Series. It's just a question of, who gets in. Is it NC State or is it going to be Georgia getting in today? So it's, but yeah, it is. If I'm being honest, there was a part of me just as a college baseball fan. Listen, for Marty and McGee, I'm all about it. And for a kid that grew up in the Carolinas, and all ACC versus ACC series is great. But there was a part of me that wanted either Oregon or Oregon State to get in, just because the Pac-12 literally ended last night when Oregon State lost to Kentucky, which was a great game. And I'm really happy for the folks in Kentucky because they've committed so much to baseball. But when Oregon State lost, the Pac-12 ended. And the Pac-12, for folks that don't know, they won twice as many College World Series as any other conference. And so I thought it would be fitting to have some representative of the Pac-12 there, and for the Pac-12 to end on the field in Omaha, but instead it ended on the field in Lexington, Kentucky.
And I saw your tweet last night. It was Pac-12 after dark.
Oh yeah,
when Oregon State
poured one out. I didn't pour mine out. I poured mine into my mouth.
Yep. There you go.
Hey, Ryan, speaking of pouring them out, I got to ask you, the board is pretty much set, but do you have an early favorite for the Rocco's Jello shot contest? LSU's kind of set a high bar in a couple rodeos. So do you got any money down on who may be the favorite for that contest this year?
You got to feel like it's a little wide open since LSU is not there.
Right.
There for the taking.
And the Mississippi schools. I mean, Ole Miss set the tone. And then Mississippi State carried that on. And then, as y'all know, because you've been to Starkville and you've been to Oxford and you've been to Baton Rouge, those three towns lead the league in drinking anyway. So it wasn't a surprise. Now we'll see. But I say this though, and I say this as y'all, anybody that sees me on camera, I got my Tennessee stuff out. I'm a Tennessee grad. Tennessee's been a little embarrassing in this thing. Like, they're in Omaha every year, and granted they've had earlier exits they wanted, but they have not represented on that marker board. So my challenge to all of y'all out there in Orange who are planning your trips to Omaha, I don't care if they're there to dogpile at the end or if they're, to a barbecue. Y'all need to at least represent. And I can't do but so much because I'm working. So we need the Tennessee people to at least put a number on the board. But I mean, early favorites, it's I always, it's going to have to be somebody that's there through the end. It's going to be somebody that we know has the ability to consume beverages. Florida's never really shown out in this thing. Even when they made it to the championship game last year, they finished like 5th or 6th, I think, in the Jello shot deal. So it's wide open. I mean, I've not called a ESPN bet yet, but I'm going to call them and see if maybe they want to put some odds on some stuff.
I guarantee you could get somebody to do it. Ryan McGee of ESPN joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. Ryan, I got to ask you, you've talked about your UT motif, and we always like to kind of rate people's backgrounds when we get a chance to converse with them here. Who is 36?
All right, so that's a real jersey that came from Tennessee. And I'm told that it was worn on the sideline of like the Alabama game. It was coach. The picture we always see of Johnny Majors being, carried over to shake Bear Bryant's hand and all that. I'm told this jersey was worn like a reserve jersey. Like, dude never played. Yeah. But so there's a guy named Scott Reinhardt, and Scotty was the equipment manager. He was Bear Bryant's last student equipment manager at Alabama. And Scotty and I ended up working together at NASCAR of all places. And so when Scott was going through his boxes of stuff, if I've got a home jersey and an away jersey, they used to do jersey exchanges. The equipment guys did. I tell you something about Scott. I always want to write this story. We're pretty sure Scott got Bear Bryant's last autograph because Scott was the equipment guy. Bear Bryant was leaving the office, and Scott said, "Hey, coach, could you sign this for me?" And got him to sign something like for a friend. And Bear Bryant had his heart attack like that night, and he didn't pass away for a couple of days. We're pretty sure Scott works for Notre Dame. So Bear Bryant's last autograph, I'm pretty sure, is in South Bend, which is crazy to me. And one day I'm going to convince an editor to let me write that story. But you talk about Coach Majors. So Tennessee fans give me flack about having this Pitt helmet. I have it because Coach Majors signed it for me.
Sure.
It's my little mini helmet there. And my other Tennessee helmet, I think, is the smoky gray, which people still get mad about. But but yeah, I got some Tennessee stuff.
That's awesome. On the field.
Yeah.
What do you see this week? Well, the next couple of weeks.
Well, what's really interesting is we have so many storylines about teams that have not ever taken care of business there. The most Texas A&M thing is the fact that they have 2,700 wins and they have championships across like 3 different conferences, and they've been to Omaha, but they've never won a championship. And so, and Schloss, one of my favorite coaches, for folks who don't know, Schloss was a coach at TCU all those years and took them to the College World Series. He's such a great guy. And then you got North Carolina, which is where I live here in North Carolina. And North Carolina, had their heartbreaking back-to-back losses in the finals against Oregon State. One of them on a terrible, error in the field. And so, Tennessee, you have all of these programs that have been to Omaha, but they've never closed the deal. I mean, the last time, if Georgia wins tonight, the last time Georgia was in Omaha was 2008 when they had a 1-game lead and had a 4-run lead in the second game and blew it and lost to Fresno State. And so that's kind of the storyline for most of these schools. Virginia's going and they won it, a couple times. But Florida has won it a couple times, but hasn't been able to take care of business in a long time, and obviously lost in the finals a year ago. Kentucky's never been. Be the first time they've been to the last SEC school that haven't been there. So there's a lot of that, which is either unfulfilled promise of all these years. Because Tennessee to me has always been one of the leading programs of how have they not been better at baseball than this? Because it's a great baseball state. I remember when they renovated the ballpark the first time, Lindsey Nelson Stadium 30 years ago. They've always been committed to it. They've had good players, but they've only been in Omaha a handful of times. And the last couple of times, quite frankly, they blew it. So there's a lot of that. That's what I'm curious to see. There's not a lot of been there, done that with this team. Now, Florida, they took LSU to a 3rd game a year ago. So we'll see what matters there. But that, to me, that's it, which is all the storylines of all these programs that have never dogpiled, even though they've been good at baseball. And it's going to be most of the field.
Ryan, you mentioned Georgia and not dogpiling in Omaha. They were runner-up, like you said, in 2008 under David Perno.
Yep.
You realize what David Perno is doing now?
I do. Perno is one of my favorite people, man. So, you guys know I wrote a New York Times worst-selling book about the College World Series, The Road to Omaha, and it was centered around that 2008 series. And here's why I will always love Dave Perno. Dave Perno, when the night after they lost the 3rd game to Fresno, and he mismanaged that game, and he in the lobby of the hotel with just tears in his eyes at 1 o'clock in the morning, he said, "Give me a few weeks." Then he knew I was working on a book. He said, "Give me a few weeks, then come to Athens and we'll go over all this." And sure enough, man, I went down there at the end of that summer and we pulled out the DVDs and we watched the games. And he said, I remember it was in game 3 when they still had a chance to win. And he paused the tape. He goes, right here, I'm going to show you how I screwed up the College World Series. But that right there, that's a dude. So Dave worked for us at SEC Network for a while, and then went back to coach at the prep level. And
football,
football, because he was a good football player. He's a great football player. So he's still in the neighborhood down there, and but he is y'all know as a writer, there's no greater gift than someone just volunteering to be vulnerable and open. And he said, "All right, I'm going to show you how I screwed up the College World Series." And I wrote a whole chapter about it.
Yeah. That's crazy. Ryan, I want to ask you something before we get off, because as you talked about, journalism and what we do and being vulnerable and that kind of thing, apparently someone asked Tony V after the loss to Evansville on Saturday night if this season would be considered not a success if they, again, didn't get out of the Super Regional. And he took time after last night's win to address that at length. I don't know if you had a chance to see his response or not, but can we just say that sometimes as journalists, we have to ask tough questions that are not unfair questions because they're tough questions?
Yeah, no, listen, it's our job to ask the questions that, quite frankly, if anybody else was in that room, they should have asked it. And there's certain questions just have to be asked. And, it's one of the things I talk to a lot when one of the great kind of byproducts of being on the road in the fall with Marty and McGee and SEC Nation is I get to talk to journalism classes at a lot of SEC schools. And this is what I talk to them about all the time, which is being comfortable is not part of the gig, right? I mean, if you want to be comfortable, there's plenty of other jobs where you can sit in the cube and be comfortable and don't have to say anything in a meeting. But sometimes there's questions that just have to be asked. And it's I think about my coworker, David Hale, years ago when Clemson couldn't get around themselves before they started winning national championships. David Hale's the one they asked Dave Sweeney about Clemsoning. And you had to ask that question. You had to. And of course the Clemson fans turned that into this, bonfire motivation, and Dabo, did exactly what he should have done, which was he turned it into motivation and got everybody fired. But that's a question that had to be asked. And it was the only environment that Hale was given to ask the question. And he didn't feel bad for it. And he shouldn't feel bad for it. So yeah, I mean, we've all been in those situations where what you don't want to do is you don't want the question to never be asked. And
Right.
if everybody's sitting in that room
waiting on somebody to ask it,
waiting on somebody else to ask a question, all of a sudden it wraps and nobody asks a question, well, then that's a group fail. That's what that is. And so I always give credit, no matter how uncomfortable it might be or how awkward it might be in these days, how you might go viral. There's questions that have to be asked. And it also, by the way, was a great question because it's a fact. I mean, it's a fact. And if they, quite frankly, if they go to Omaha and they go 0-2, then yeah, it's a huge letdown. So the only thing you got to hold back with Tennessee baseball is, do they have the ability to close the deal? And, when they do it, then we'll know they can do it.
ESPN's Ryan McGee joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Friend of the show, Ryan McGee. Friend of Wade Neely, Ryan McGee. Did you ever finish that book, Wade?
Mo, I'm glad you asked. I got my copy here.
There you go.
Welcome to the Circus of Baseball. Ryan, the interesting thing, you autographed this book for me last year at SEC Media Days, and I was very thankful for that, but I found it very unusual. You wrote "Go Gators" for your autograph. That was just the most unusual part, as we got a photo there of you doing that. But yeah, you pinned in ink "Go Gators," which I just found kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I'm already
your background and everything.
Yeah,
today.
I'm already going to get my phone's already vibrating for what I just said about Tony V. And ask a tough question. So I know now that's only going to get worse. But
let the record show he did not do that. And it's a fantastic book. And
thanks for the help.
I'm sorry about that. Hey, but last summer, and really any summer, you kind of start getting that itch around or really before summer, like April, and you just kind of feel baseball season right around the corner. And when your book came out last year, it just scratched an itch that I didn't even really know that I had at the time. And I loved reading it, and a phenomenal job that kind of just puts you in the essence of small town America and minor league baseball, I thought.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I really do. And that book was a labor of love. And my honestly, and the dedication to the book is to the people who work in minor league baseball. I mean, listen, just down the road, at the Sounds. And I think about my biggest concern was doing right by them. I did that for one summer, right? One season. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure I did it right by my friends who have worked in minor league baseball for decades and the people who dedicated their lives to it. And the good news is, knock on wood, is that a lot of the people who have worked, the lifers, they've reached out and said they enjoyed it. And so that was the main thing, is I want to do right by them. But that's a love letter to minor league baseball. And I hope that with all the changes and everything that's happening, I'm hoping, and I feel like this is also something you can say to collegiate sports right now. Don't ever lose touch with like that feeling that you get from that book if you're minor league baseball, because that's what sets you apart from everyone else. And so I hope that maybe I don't know, maybe someone in Major League Baseball read that book and feel that way before they screw everything up.
And if you read it, you can feel sticky. You can feel the summer night kind of just pulsating through the book. So I kind of had to turn the air conditioning on when I was reading. Because you could just feel those summer nights just kind of setting in on you. Yeah,
Dan Levitard, I did a show a year ago when we were promoting the book, and he goes, I read your book, man. He goes, the Dairy Queen machine almost killed you. He said, the tarp almost killed you twice. He goes, you were making $100 a week. Was this actually fun? I'm like, dude, it's the most fun I ever had. You know, when you're 23, you don't know any better, right? But it was, but I appreciate you saying that.
You went and grew up from there. Ryan McGee of ESPN joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Ryan, we appreciate you taking some time with us. Enjoy Omaha. Hope to see you in Dallas here in a few weeks.
I will definitely be there. Definitely be there. Come by and see, because at that point I'll be like, man, I'm tired of hearing Marty's voice. So y'all come over there and help me give me somebody else.
We'll hit you up, brother.
I appreciate it, boys.
Man.
All right,
thank you. All right. Hey, when we come back here on Main Street Sports today, we will continue from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and we'll talk a little professional postseason activity. So stay tuned after this break.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Monday Mirror continues here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton along with Wade Neely. And Wade, we had a little NBA action. In fact, we had a little more NBA action last night. We also had some NHL Stanley Cup Finals action over the weekend. And, let's start with the NHL because the vibe that I got following the Panthers and Oilers on social media was, Florida won that game 3-0, but they weren't necessarily impressive in doing so. I mean, did you kind of pick up on that?
Kind of caught a little feeling like that, but I don't know if I should expect anything less because we kind of talked about on the show Friday that this has kind of just been a weird – seems like the NHL playoffs are always just – the teams are so evenly matched by the end. It kind of just comes down to who gets some lucky breaks, and we saw it in the first series that Nashville played that they lose to Vancouver. It almost feels like more than any other sport, you could thoroughly outplay a team and still find yourself losing. Now, when you lose 3-0, I do maybe have a hard time coming up with that. I didn't get to watch any of game one, unfortunately. Looking forward to tonight, but did see some chatter. But yeah, it's when it's 3-0, that's, it's not like it was 1-0 or 1-0 with a late empty netter to make it 2-0. I mean, 3-0 is.
And besides that, I almost wonder, at this point, I mean, are you really looking for style points?
Yeah, hey, that's the thing, right? I mean, Florida goes on and wins 3 more games like that. They ain't going to care.
No. I mean,
flags fly forever, baby.
They're not going to not give us the Stanley Cup because we didn't win in impressive enough of a fashion. So, Florida taking a 1-0 lead back onto the ice tonight when they take on Edmonton in game 2. Before both teams make the long trek to Alberta. So that should be fun. Boston gets a big game out of someone other than Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown or Porzingis to take a 2-0 lead over Dallas. And how much of a problem is that for Dallas that it's not even Boston's best players that are doing them in?
Huge problem, Mo. And I was in and out of the press box last night at Nissan, and they had the game on. I was catching quite a bit. And the overriding thing coming out of last night is Boston maybe played, outside of the loss to Miami in the first round, they maybe played one of their worst games, I think, by and large. And they shot, what was it? Where'd we go here? 6 of 26. No, excuse me. That was Dallas. Boston was 10 of 39 from 3. They made 10 threes. Yeah. But I mean, they shot 25%. And that's at home. So the fact, if I'm Dallas, I'm probably pretty irritated right now if I'm a Mavericks fan, because that felt like the game that Boston needed to have, especially on the road, for you to steal that game. And just nobody showed up really in a grand fashion for the Mavericks last night, which is tough because you're so close. Talk about closing margins. You got the game you wanted Boston to play, and you still didn't get the win. And now, if things don't turn around in a hurry, I mean, if you lose this game 3, it's a death sentence practically.
Yeah. You get a triple-double from Luka, 32 points, 11 assists, 11 boards. But like you said, 6 of 26 from behind the arc and nothing from anybody else. Meanwhile, Boston had 5 different guys with 12-plus points. And when they played the game that they played, the fact that, like you said, you couldn't take advantage of that doesn't bode well, even though you are going back home. I mean, it's not like you're going to just flip a switch and suddenly everything that was going on in Boston isn't going on anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, the Celtics, they've been a punching bag and they've been an easy target. And it's interesting, the parallels from our NHL discussion a moment ago, because there's every excuse in the world to kind of say this is a somewhat tainted title for the Celtics, but at the end of the day, you got to go out and win the games, and they have done just that. I mean, we're talking a team that most likely going to finish. I mean, if they sweep, what is it? They'll finish 80-20 for the season. And that's the other crazy thing. You're now asking a team that has only lost 20 games throughout the regular season and postseason to lose 4 over the next 5 games. I don't like those odds. I'll just put it to you that way.
Yeah. There was a sequence late in that game last night. Boston was up 5. Dallas is on the break. PJ Washington gets it to finish, and Derek White blocks him from behind at the rim. I mean, this should have been a flush and a 3-point game, and Dallas is playing defense with a chance to get the ball in a one-possession ball game. Instead, Washington doesn't go up strong enough, gets it blocked. The Celtics come back down and score again. They go back up 7, and this is in the last minute, I think. And it's, kind of ball game from there. But just moments like that, Dallas just didn't seem to be able to answer the call, like you said.
Yeah, if they don't come up and somehow get this series back in their favor, I think game 2 is going to be one that really sticks in their craw. And props to Drew Holiday, a guy. And we mentioned Brad Stevens being one of those college coaches that went to the pros and didn't win a title, but he has certainly done a great job in this new role of constructing the team, because Drew Holiday, a huge pickup for them. We've talked about Porzingis, of course, but Holiday had an all-time great game last night.
Mm-hmm.
And at times he was just locking everybody down. I mean, this guy is – I'm not saying they got him at a bargain price, but, I mean, when you consider what he's delivering in the finals, it feels like they absolutely got a fleecing. And so the fact that this team they just feel deeper, Mo, than the Mavericks, and it doesn't feel particularly close. And kind of like I said Friday, if Luka and Kyrie are not going to go nuclear and we're going to get the performances we've seen from everybody else on the roster, they really have no shot at this point.
It's not if, but when. Absolutely. Like
Feels
you said,
like
Holiday with 26 points in addition to his defensive efforts. So, this Boston train.
And the crazy thing to kind of put a point on that too is Tatum, not great. I mean, we've seen this in the finals now, in the postseason a couple times. Good Tatum, bad Tatum. And again, it goes to the larger point that this game was there for the Mavericks and they didn't take it. Tatum finishes 6 of 22, was 1 from 7 from downtown. He just did not look comfortable, and that's playing at home. And so, man, it just feels like that one was there for Dallas to maybe nab. And if they nab that one now, obviously we don't know what the heck's about to happen. But it's
right.
Sitting here on this Monday 2-0, it sure feels like Boston is closing in on this thing.
And you got to feel like Tatum's not going to have 2 games in a row like that.
You would think not. Now, granted, going on the road, I saw a wild stat too that Kyrie had his famous, stomp on the Celtic, but he's now lost. I think the streak is up to 16 games in a row now that he's lost versus Boston since he famously with the Nets stomped on the logo. So that's not good
great
karma right now.
No, not good juju for Kyrie. Yeah. That's going to wrap up hour number 1 of the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Hour 2 on the other side of this break from the Lee Company Studios. Stay with us after this.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
June 10th, 1972, Hank Aaron's sixth-inning grand slam came in one of the Braves' six multi-run innings as they won 15-3 at Philadelphia. The long ball marked the 649th of his career, pushing him past Willie Mays into second place on the all-time list, and gave him 14 career grand slams, tying him with Gil Hodges atop the National League list. That was this day in Braves history. Wade, as I've watched the Braves here over this last 3 weeks or so, I guess in particular, I'm beginning to wonder, have Braves fans just become spoiled? I mean, is this the way it actually goes for most Major League Baseball fans? This one step forward, two steps back, lather, rinse, repeat. And the Braves fell 8-5 to a not very good Washington Nationals team, and dropped again 3 or 4 in that series. Second time in a couple of weeks that they've lost 3 or 4 to the Nationals. And when you look at the Braves on paper and you look at the Braves on the field, it just doesn't look the same. And I can't figure out why it is, but the success isn't there. And, you know, am I or we expecting too much out of the Braves, or is this what they are? I mean, I can't put a finger on it.
I think in this particular season, probably not, because the expectations were sky high for this team. So the fact that they are where they are is not great. Now, in the grand scheme of things, in the MLB historical pecking order, who knows? But I mean, think even the Yankees with 27 titles, you go through some ups and downs. They haven't won one since 2009. So, I mean, it's cyclical, but when you're on a run and you're kind of on an upward trend or at a high mark, kind of like Houston is at the moment, you do kind of just take it for granted sometimes and just assume that, yeah, we're just going to roll out and it shouldn't be this difficult. And so with the team that had such lofty preseason expectations, a lot goes into it. Of course, we've discussed the injuries, hitting down, pitching down at various points in times. It doesn't seem like they've been in pure cohesion after the first couple weeks of the regular season.
And that's a great phrase for it, cohesion. It just hasn't all worked together for this team for, the bulk of the season. And again, you're talking about a team that's 35-28 for, as bad as they've looked. They're 7 games over 500. And, you don't want to pile on them. I mean, again, if you are on social media, you see some of the comments and some of the stupidity and that kind of thing that comes out of every fan base. But I try to be objective about the situation and avoid ledges and sharp objects and that kind of thing. But it doesn't make
bleach. Mo is my favorite. Bleach. Keep it close by.
It doesn't make sense that this team isn't performing any better than it is.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating thing. I mean, we're not talking, hey, they lost 2 out of 3 or got swept by the Phillies or the Dodgers.
Right.
I mean, when you're losing, and sometimes in baseball, we had a great conversation with our guest from the Sounds last Friday, and Big Z will tell you, I mean, the balance or the margins are so thin between these teams that some over the course of 162 games, you just can't be on that many times. And I kind of always said or been of the opinion, if you can weather the storm, I'd much rather be hot later in the season than I would be at the beginning. So that's kind of what keeps me warm and fuzzy in bed at night with just a sip of bleach some nights as opposed to just a full-on slug.
There we go. Something that I figured out at one point in my baseball fandom, it's a 162 game schedule. Divide that by 3, that's 54 games. More often than not, everybody's going to win 54 games. Everybody's going to lose 54 games. And it's that other 54 that determines where you're going to be most of the time. Chicago's not going to win 54 games, but that's another story. But, until you hit that 54 game mark in either the win column or the loss column, you're just kind of, treading water to some degree. But it's how those last 54 or so go that really kind of determines where you're going to be. And I like to be an optimist and feel like the Braves are going to get things turned around. Again, no Acuna, no Strider. Those guys aren't working through that door. But it's not like they are bereft of talent, and it doesn't make sense that a team with a Matt Olson, with an Austin Riley, with an Ozzie Albies aren't being any better or more productive offensively than they are. And so they're off today, which makes me feel like I'm off today before they go to Baltimore for 3 games tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. Max Fried was pushed back yesterday to make that start tomorrow against Baltimore, which vacated that Sunday starting role for Braves rookie Hurston Waldrop, who a year ago was pitching in the World Series, the College World Series for Florida. So that went the way you would expect. Made a couple of mistakes, one of them went out of the ballpark, and he leaves the game down 4-2. So, the Braves are bringing up rookies, trying to fill some spots and extend some starters and that kind of thing. They're trying to manipulate the pitching to their advantage. We saw Spencer Schwellenbach come up a couple of weeks ago and make a start. We're going to be speaking in the next segment with Chris Harris of the Mississippi Braves, talking a little bit more about that. But, it feels like they're really grasping at straws in a lot of situations in a way that you just wouldn't expect a team that, again, had the expectations of them coming into this season that they had. So it's Not been fun to watch.
Other key point to all this, you see it when you come in with those expectations, you're getting everybody's best shot. You're getting the best shot from the Phillies because they're trying to fend you off. You're getting the best shot from the Marlins because they ain't got nothing else to play for. And that kind of goes with the Nationals right now. So you're getting everybody's best shot. And when they do kind of sense you a little wounded, that's when they really try and step it up a notch. I've seen. It doesn't matter really what sport it is, but when there is a proud or, preseason expectation type franchise, when they're kind of down for whatever reason, the other teams are not giving any sympathy. And I mean, they're showing up to do their job just like everybody else. And right now, ATL is in a state of disarray, to say the least.
A little bit. A little blood on the water, you think?
I mean, yeah, those smaller teams, man. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of their. We use the term all the time. That's their Super Bowl a lot of times. And when you can go out and either if it's versus a hot pitcher who like we saw with Sale a couple nights ago. Maybe he's not having his best stuff. Guess what? Everybody's kind of on the edge of the dugout, kind of just peering, trying to get up there and get their base knock on him. So it's tough out here.
It is. It is. Houston rallied late yesterday, put up 4 runs in the 6th, but gave up 4 runs in the 8th and 9th and fell to the Angels 9-7. And the Angels, again, not a great team. 25-40 with that win. Houston falls to 30-36. And, I don't know that they're necessarily running out of time, Wade, but you'd like to see a little bit more momentum again.
It'd be nice. And then, I'm at CMA Fest Friday, and I get the news Kyle Tucker's now going to the IL. So, I mean, you're in the next 2 to 3 weeks are kind of a lot of things are hanging in the balance for this season and potentially beyond. And yeah, they've got to get something going. They've picked up overall. I'd say they're probably on a little bit more of an upward trend despite all the injuries as of late. Right. But yeah, you never feel good when you lose, even though we just did a whole spiel on being 162 games and certain games you just don't have it. You still never feel good when you lose to the team in last place in your division. No,
you don't. Good news. Marlins defeated Cleveland 3-2 on Friday. Bad news. Ryan Weathers only went 2 1/3. Struck out 3, gave up 4 hits, but did not figure into the decision, and apparently came out with a sore left index finger. Now, I don't know what that would necessarily indicate, but when you're having the season that he's had to this point, you certainly don't want any physical setbacks like that. So hopefully he will be ready for his next start. But yeah, left index finger soreness. Yeah, when you're left-handed.
Makes it tough, right? So, I mean, you're hoping this is just a precautionary thing. And we've talked about the states of franchises. This is an interesting spot for the Marlins because we don't necessarily know what their intentions are this season and beyond. I mean, if you're thinking, hey, we can really shine him up nice and then flip him to somebody else down the road, you're going to obviously try and protect that asset at all costs. So,
And the X factor being that it's the Marlins because you don't know what they're thinking. I mean, this is they've already traded Luis Ariz, so I mean, who knows? But you feel like Sandy Alcantara is gonna be back next year. They've got some pitching that's gonna raise their level of play. You would think you would think that they would be stockpiling. And again, this is a team that made the postseason last year.
Yep.
So what they're doing, as Christina Di Nicola indicated when we had her on a couple of weeks ago, who knows? It's ugh.
Not a great quote, though. Said he, quote, just couldn't feel the ball anymore with his left index fingers. So that's from Schumacher, who said, once I heard that was enough. He just, yanked him on out of there. So
yeah,
at least being protective, I suppose.
That's not great. But again, hopefully, whatever that was comes around with some treatment here over the next few days and that kind of thing. Again, he's been on such a roll and really starting to kind of get himself established in Miami, and you'd hate to see anything kind of get him off of that trend right now. So we will be keeping an eye on that. Mets, Phillies, London split. I guess the home team each won. Is that the way that went?
Foggy old London town. Got to see a little spot of baseball this weekend. and we got I think it was the first game on what was it, Saturday. We got Harper hit a dong and then dropped to his knees and slid back to the dugout. So I mean, they were really putting on a show for the international fans.
Well, and right, wrong, or otherwise, there's probably nobody better to put on a show than Bryce Harper. I mean, he has grown out of that guy that I love to hate. And the one thing that I will say about Bryce Harper is he plays hard. He plays hard. He seems to find the right times to rise to the occasion, and you got to have some level of respect for that, whether he plays for you or against you. So that's great that he was able to do that and kind of give the folks in London a show. But I don't know, if you're Philadelphia and you're rolling the way they are, you don't necessarily expect to split with the Mets.
You would assume not. And so I'd be curious to see more so on this couple games they got versus the Red Sox this week, how they respond. International trip, lose a 1-run game. Yeah, you never want to lose those. And I guess baseball is the one sport where, they talk about routine being kind of a key piece of that. But I mean, when you go on that sort of a trip, I know the MLB was probably excited, get to showcase the Mets, get to showcase the Phillies. But yeah, they play the Red Sox in Boston. If there's a little lingering after effects of that, then you might kind of wonder, you might be wondering, was that trip worth it at that point?
Yeah, and Boston, here's the thing. Did Boston drop a couple to the White Sox over the weekend?
I think at least 2, yeah. White Sox are hot.
Yeah. Rumors of the White Sox demise are apparently premature. They did lose yesterday in 10 to Boston 6-4, but I think they won Saturday, and I know they won Friday. Yeah, they won 6-1 on Saturday, and they won 7-2 on Friday, snapping that 14-game losing streak that we had been pointing out late last week. So, break up the White Sox. Who knows? Let's go ahead and take a break here on Main Street Sports today. And when we return to the Lee Company studios, we will be joined by Chris Harris, the play-by-play voice of the Mississippi Braves. So stay tuned when we come back to the Lee Company studios after this break.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to Nashville Super Speedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Super Speedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Are coming to Franklin. The Mustang Heritage Spectacular. 4 days of celebrity freestyle, liberty training, trick riding, and extreme Mustang makeover. Plus the shopping. Over 100 vendor spaces with clothing, food, home goods, and things you can't find anywhere else. All that and celebrity signings at a music stage too. June 20th through 23rd at Williamson County Ag Expo Park. Don't miss a moment with a weekend pass. MustangHeritageFoundation.org for tickets.
Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely, and we are now joined by, on his off day, by the way. So special thanks to Mississippi Braves play-by-play announcer Chris Harris for joining us here on Main Street Sports today. The Mississippi Braves getting ready for a 6-game series against the visiting Rocket City Trash Pandas starting tomorrow. I didn't realize you were off today, man. So seriously, thank you for taking some time with us.
Man, for Mo, man, I would do anything. So thanks for having me. And this is sort of my Monday routine. I give me my cup of coffee in the morning, then I pull my laptop up and usually watch a replay of the golf tournament on Sunday, and then and get ready for another 6 days of baseball.
Here we go. Braves were over at Pensacola taking on the Blue Wahoos this past week, and I saw you promoting Friday's beach towel giveaway while you were over there. That was pretty timely.
Any excuse you have to go to the beach and soak up some rays and the beautiful sights. I mean, you got to do it, right? I mean, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't, take advantage of the fact that we're giving away a beach towel on Friday and happen to have it with me. And, it's just a win-win situation there.
I
you
think
needed to be able to properly paint the picture. So I respect the exactly.
Yep, no doubt. Chris, this is the last year of the M Braves in Pearl before they move to Columbus. What has the reception for the team been like at home this year in light of that? How is that going?
Yeah. I mean, so far it's been a lot of the same. I think once we got into the actual season and games started, especially for me, all the distractions really go away because you're playing pretty much every day for 6 months. Obviously, there's some disappointment from people around here. There's a lot of positive energy going to get baseball here in 2025 in some way, form, or fashion. And, I think for right now, it's sort of business as usual. I think once we get into, August and September, it's really going to start to set in for everyone. So I think that's when you really start to feel that, it's coming down to the end here. And, but I've been really encouraged with everything we've seen so far. Everybody's really enjoyed coming out and enjoying the baseball. And, we've had some great promotions. We've had some great players to have on the field. So, when you play 138 games, you don't really have a whole lot of time to just sit around and think about stuff. You have games to call and different things going on pretty much every night.
You mentioned some great players. A couple of them have been there briefly, I guess. Hurston Waldrop got the start for the Atlanta Braves yesterday. We saw Spencer Schwellenbach about a week and a half ago make his major league debut up at Fenway. What did those guys look like there? And, what was the buzz about them just from what you heard throughout the organization leading up to them getting that promotion to the big club?
I'll start first with Hurston Waldrop because I've seen him the most. I saw him pitch 3 times for us last year, which that was his draft season after he'd played a full year at the University of Florida and, pitched in some highly competitive games, obviously in the College World Series last year. So seeing him last year, they were really careful with his innings. He had a really strict pitch limit. So it was really tough to kind of get a good grasp on, what his pitch mix was, what he was trying to do the second, third time through the orders as a starting pitcher. But, this year the leash was off, and that was pretty noticeable the first time out. I mean, he was up to 85, 90 pitches in that first outing. And, his first start was actually in Pensacola it wasn't opening night, but it was that opening weekend. Mm-hmm. And he got knocked around, 7 runs on 11 hits. And, he was not real happy about that. But I honestly think that might have been the best thing that could have ever happened to him because it allowed him to kind of go back, reevaluate some things. The thing about Hurston, and he spent 2 years at Southern Miss before going to University of Florida. And I'm really close with that Southern Miss program. And I really credit Christian Ostrander a lot for his development that freshman and sophomore season. But Hurston is probably one of the smartest guys I've been around when it comes to knowing what he's trying to do out there. And I can remember having a conversation with him, I guess it was less than 2 weeks ago, and him just talking about the science of pitching. And I asked him about his splitter because his splitter is one of the most used splitters I think I've ever seen. And he developed it during COVID. He really just, I don't know if it was just like most of us, boredom. And, with his work ethic, he just got out there and started throwing and figured out that splitter. But he throws it differently to different type of guys. I mean, he'll throw it different to a left-handed hitter. He'll throw it different to a right-handed hitter. He'll look at different hitters swing pass and figure out which type of splitter he wants to throw. So, I mean, he really does have it down to a science. And I think, with any pitcher, especially who's making their big league debut and has little time in AAA, you're going to see the good and the bad. You saw the good, 3 innings of no-hit baseball, and then you saw the bad, which was in that 4th inning. He kind of let things snowball on him. But that's what you're going to get with a rookie pitcher. So that's Waldrop. I love the kid. He's a lot of fun to be around. He and I spent a lot of time chatting just about the mechanics of pitching because he's really into the analytics and watching video. He and Spencer Schwellenbach spent a lot of time together during spring training and while they were here in Mississippi. And they like to share information. I know Hurston has shared how he throws his splitter with some other guys on the team that's had some success with it. So that exchange of information, I think, is really cool as well. And Atlanta is really on board with that too. They love, how guys share what works best for them. And especially now when everybody's talking about pitch shape and how things come in on the TrackMan and the Hawkeye data, I think that's really important.
Chris, I got 2 questions I wanted to ask you. And the first was, you're over 50 games into the season. You obviously are a student of the game and have been doing this a really long time. How do you pace your material, especially when guys are coming and going in terms of, you got a great story you want to tell, and it needs to go on air, but you maybe have to hold it because you're talking 100+ ball games, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can kind of figure out who are the dudes and who are not the dudes. And so if you've got some dudes, then you better dump all your information out there as you can. I
Just get it out quick.
I try to do interviews with a lot of guys, and we have sort of a podcast channel that those goes out on. If you just search for the Mississippi Braves on your whatever your podcast server is. But you know, I knew with Spencer Schwellenbach, you know, a lot of it's just feel on my part, and then some of it's, you know, whispers that you might hear. And I knew after Spencer made that first start for us, I better get him for an interview the next day. I didn't know if he was going to make one more start for us or not. He ended up making 2 starts for us, and both were really good. But I made sure to talk to him and try to get a feel for what he's trying to do. I think for Spencer, you know, it's kind of a unique story. I mean, he was the John Olerud Award winner for the best 2-way player in college baseball. I mean, he really was a great hitter, and I really wanted to kind of hear from him. Okay, what was that decision like? Why would, you know, you were one of the best hitters in the country at Nebraska. You know, why would you want to give that up just for pitching? And it was cool to listen to him tell the story. And of course, it involved COVID too, because once he came back after COVID, he had really spent a lot of time during that summer throwing into like a hockey net, I think, that he had. And so I'm pretty good at this. I can throw the ball 98 miles an hour. Then when he came back to Nebraska, I think he kind of had a slump, and he said, you know what? I think I won't slump as much when I'm pitching every day. So he decided to go to the pitching route, but he also uses a lot of things that he learned as a great hitter and how to get hitters out at this level. And it's a learning process for him, but you know, he was probably the most polished of some of the recent guys that have come through here. And I only saw him twice, so it's kind of hard to get a true feel. And he's had some ups and downs in the big leagues, but I mean, he throws 5 pitches and he throws them all for strikes. I was talking to him about his pitch mix, and we're talking fastball, slider, curveball, changeup. And he said, oh, by the way, I was throwing a cutter yesterday too. You just probably missed it. So it's like, okay, well, you do you, man. And of course, gets called up straight from our roster to the big league team. And, you know, good for him. But I'm sort of taking your question a lot of different ways here. But, you know, they're guys you kind of know that you need to dump all the information. And for Hurston, I tried to use a lot of feel. He was definitely going through, like I said, he's a very intelligent, everything kind of plays in his mind differently maybe than some others. That's not a bad thing. He just really is a thinker, likes to work things. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna kind of leave him alone for a while. And then once he kind of started getting things rolling, I was like, hey, Harrison, let's sit down and do a chat. And I want to learn some things about how you tick. So a lot of it, you just kind of have to show some feel, and obviously these guys, once you build that trust and you know, they really, you know, can open up, and they all have some great stories to tell.
Also wanted to ask you, a couple of nights ago, a kid that we keep tabs on here in Southern Middle Tennessee, Ben Peoples, has been pitching well for Montgomery. Oh, he got a win versus you guys. I know you've slept since then. That start was back on June the 1st. But do you remember anything from a hard-throwing right-hander for the Montgomery Biscuits a couple nights ago, Mr. Ben Peoples?
Yeah, you know, that was a little bit ago, and they all kind of run together in your head. But
yeah, I'm sure.
You know, Ben's put together some really good starts in a row, and you know, I think he's got a bright future in that Tampa Bay organization. They have a wealth of riches over there in the Tampa Bay Rays system. But yeah, Ben's improved a lot. I think for him, the biggest thing I noticed was just his confidence. I think, especially that second, third time through the orders, you could tell him making the adjustments. And that's the big thing at this level is, you know, you can throw some really nice pitches to a lot of hitters, but can you work backwards? Can you get those hitters off your fastball or off your breaking stuff? So that was the thing I noticed with him, is just that second time, third time through the order, he was making lots of adjustments and keeping our hitters off balance.
Chris Harris, radio play-by-play voice of the Mississippi Braves, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. You know, Chris, you talking about Hurst and talking about Spencer, Von Grissom went up a couple of years ago straight from Double A. I'm always fascinated when guys jump Triple A. I mean, what do you see in guys that maybe indicates that they're ready for, that move to go up 2 levels to the big club like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. We had in 2022 we had 2 guys, Vaughn Grissom and Michael Harris. Both go straight to the big leagues. Spencer Strider only made 1 relief appearance in AAA before going to the big leagues, and he hasn't been back since. But I think for a lot of people, they think, well, AAA is a higher level than AA, and it is. And you have better hitters, you have more veterans, but I always call AAA kind of a cesspool. You sort of get a mix of maybe some prospects, but you got a lot of 30 to 35-year-old guys who are just there, and you can learn a lot of things. I think as a young pitcher, a young player at the AAA level, but I think. And it's always sort of been the case, maybe more so now, AA is where you develop the most. I think AA is where you separate the men from the boys. And especially in the Southern League, I think especially as a hitter, if you can succeed in this league, you can succeed in the big leagues. And for pitchers, I think it's the same thing. The big difference, when you make that jump from high A to AA, that's the biggest jump you'll ever make in professional baseball. If you're a hitter, you can hit multiple pitches. You can hit a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. You just better have something to go with it. If you're a pitcher, you better have a fastball. You better have probably a couple other pitches if you're a starter to get guys out. So I think once you're seeing it with a lot of different organizations too. It's not just Atlanta that's doing it. They're promoting guys from AA all over the place now. So I think once they get a good idea of where they are, and a lot of it depends on the game results. A lot of it doesn't. A lot of it just depends on what the numbers show behind the scenes. What was his spin rate? What was his tilt? What was his extension? All that kind of stuff. So, AA, if you can succeed here, you can succeed anywhere. It's not, I think more so in AAA, you have a chance. Maybe you can learn more about your consistency, but we've seen it work for some guys, maybe not for others, but you can say the same for AAA too. But if you can succeed in AA, that's the finishing school I've always said for a professional baseball player. You succeed here, you can play in the big leagues.
I'm fascinated, Chris. You just mentioned spin rate and tilt and extension, and you were talking about TrackMan and the other stuff earlier in our conversation. You seem to have made the adjustment to analytics. No?
I facade it well. This is the facade off, man. I know enough to be dangerous, and you can fake it till you make it. I'm learning something new about it every day. It's fascinating to me. They started sending me the actual dashboard you can look at a few years ago. We've gone from TrackMan, which is used in college. That's what you get in college now. In professional baseball, everybody's shifting to this data service called Hawkeye, which is how you get the stuff that you find on Baseball Savant and all that kind of stuff. That's how when you pull up game day and you're following a game and it shows up the miles per hour and it labels the pitches and everything. That's Hawkeye, which is a little more complex. It's shooting out about 50 numbers when TrackMan's shooting out 5, but you can really learn a lot. And I've talked to our pitching coaches and some of our pitchers, and you can kind of tell the difference. Say, went back to Spencer Schwellenbach, his second start, I could tell what was a cutter as opposed to a slider by looking at the inverted vertical break and the horizontal break. So I can kind of help out with my broadcast when I can look over there and see what a spin rate is. For a changeup, it'll be, anywhere between 1,500, somewhere in the thousands of spin rates. It's probably a changeup. If it's in the 2000s, you're looking at a slider, you're looking at a fastball. So it's nice. And then for Walter throwing the splitter, he would throw a splitter, which has more of that downward trajectory. His slider has more of a downward trajectory instead of more of a horizontal direction. So I would look over there at the spin rate, and if that spin rate was under 1,000, you knew that was the splitter. And if you knew it was up in the 2000s, you knew he was throwing the slider, even though it was 87, 88 miles an hour. So I think it's more so just it's not teaching me what the Atlanta Braves are using to call somebody up, but it's more so helping me to figure out and label pitches without something popping up on my screen that says fastball, slider, cutter, changeup, splitter. So I don't sound like an idiot, basically.
There you go. I get that. How much do you hear? How much do people around the M Braves necessarily talk about what's going on with the big club?
Are you talking about like players or more so just fan
Players,
base?
performance, what's wrong as fans of the Atlanta Braves, that kind of thing. Just any kind of vibes or anything like that. Do those trickle down to y'all?
Yeah. I mean, you can certainly tell. I think for more so in the minor leagues, you have more of an opportunity. I think with the way the Braves had gone the last several years, you knew pretty much at every position, even in the rotation, you were blocked. You might be trade bait, and you still might be trade bait, but you've got an opportunity to fill a role on that major league roster. Really, no matter what position that you play. And starting pitching is obviously where they've had a wealth. And you've seen Spencer Schwellenbach, you've seen Hurston Waldrop. There's a couple of relievers on our team that I think have a good chance of getting to that Atlanta roster, especially with the injuries in the bullpen. We've got a kid named Hayden Harris, who's a left-handed pitcher that's really continued to develop and put up some good numbers. He got hit on the leg with a line drive last week, so he's kind of trying to come back from that. But a lefty that has some really good numbers with his fastball and with his slider, and I think he's a guy that can really help out the club, especially getting left-handers out in big situations. And we know both Washington and Philadelphia have some guys that are on that left side that he could be very useful for. But yeah, I think it's not necessarily, you don't hear guys, people walking around saying, boy, they're in a bind right now or something like that. I don't think there's a panic yet, but that you hear, but they're not panicking either. So, I'm kind of intrigued to see what Alex Anthopoulos does over the next, month and a half. And we've seen him really pull rabbits out of hats with some moves. And, it's interesting. One cool thing about my job is, in press box situations, we have a lot of scouts that come along and they'll drop by the booth and, talk about different guys and who they're looking at and different things like that. And it's kind of funny. One of the Colorado Rockies scouts was in Pensacola this week, and he was one of the guys that was kind of he was important, let's just say integral in pulling off that trade for Pierce Johnson last year, in which we lost Victor Vodnik, Tanner Gordon, and Alec Barger to the Rockies last year. So it's getting that time, and there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and it's definitely in people's minds that something's got to get going in the right direction.
You gotta wonder, as many rabbits as Alex Anthopoulos has pulled out of his hat, I mean, who's left for him to deal with? I mean, if you are another major league GM, are you trading with this guy?
I think Alex has certainly earned the reputation of being obviously one of the best executives in the game in recent memory. So I think once you have a conversation with him, you're probably, as Santa Claus says, checking your list twice to make sure you're getting everything checked out that of what you're going to get back and also what you're going to send. I mean, Atlanta's a dominant team, so there's definitely some teams that that he's had success working with in the past, and there's still this is the question, but there's still a lot of pieces in this organization that could be valuable to other organizations too, despite it not being as jam-packed of a farm system as they've had in the past. But you better do your due diligence. But Alex he's the man. I don't know how he's done it, but he's continues to do some really, really good things.
Absolutely. Chris Harris, play-by-play voice of the Mississippi Braves, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chris, we appreciate you taking some time with us, man. Enjoy the rest of your off day, and enjoy the Trash Pandas this week as they come into your territory.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, Mo. Appreciate you guys, and talk to you guys later.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Chris.
When we come back, we'll be wrapping up the Monday Mirror with our grab bag. So stay tuned on the other side of this break from the Lee Company Studios after this.
Are you the biggest race fan? Main Street Media and Rackley Roofing are teaming up to send a family of 4 to the Rackley Roofing 200 truck race at the Nashville Super Speedway on June 28th. All you have to do is head to your favorite Main Street Media site and click on the Rackley banner to win.
The final segment of the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Wade, we mentioned during the rundown, the Nashville Cats went and got a signal caller off the couch, apparently. Legendary AFL quarterback Randy Hippard led a game-winning drive in the final 22 seconds for the Cats' 57-54 win over previously unbeaten Billings Saturday night. Their first road win, their third win overall. They are now 3-4 heading into back-to-back bye weeks. Hippard's 15-yard pass to Marquise Irvin on the final play of the game was the decisive score for the Cats.
Good win for them, and we broke it down on Friday, and there was a lot of things that seemed like they were not in Nashville's favor. Certainly the QB situation and just the sheer travel situation. But, man, big dub on the road versus a quality team. That is a solid victory for a team that was kind of in need of some good news. And it was interesting. I was seeing occasional social media updates over the weekend, and then all of a sudden the updates just went away. And unfortunately, that's usually a telltale sign that they have lost. So I kind of gave up hope. We see it sometimes with the colleges. They don't put out the final score graphic. And I was just like, oh, no, this is not good. So a nice, pleasant surprise as the Cats come back and 57-54, that's a big dub on the road versus the Outlaws, who were, like you said, undefeated.
57-54 after trailing 39-28 at halftime. So it was an uphill battle for the Cats. But again, Hippard finished up 34 of 39 for 322 and 6 touchdowns in the win there. So again, like you said, big victory there, and a lot of it happened late. Cats went up 50-46 with less than a minute and a half to play. Billings comes back and goes up 54-50 before that last game-winning drive by Hippard. And yeah, huge win, especially going into this 2-week break, because who wants to be off 2 weeks sitting on a stretch of 2-3 straight losses? I think so yeah, this is big for a number of reasons for the Cats, I would think. And again, they will be off for the next 2 weeks before their home finale at Municipal Auditorium on June 29th against the Southwest Kansas Storm. So make plans to attend. Staying in the football realm, outdoors, the UFL championship is set for next weekend after Birmingham, as expected, defeated Michigan, and I don't have that other score. St. Louis and San Antonio.
And it's the Brahmas.
The Brahmas with the win?
Yeah, they won 25-15, excuse me. So
that's unfortunate because St. Louis was looking at potentially hosting the UFL championship next weekend, but instead it will be Birmingham following that 31-18 win over Michigan, San Antonio after the 25-15 win over St. Louis, and that game will be played at 3:00, and you can see it on Fox. The inaugural UFL championship on Sunday. So
yeah, we talked about it on Friday that it would be kind of neat to see St. Louis get the dub and play in front of their home fans, but don't sleep on the Brahmas, who we talked about way back in the preseason. They had the swagged out special teams unit with Brad Wing and Destroying, and the Destroying's had that weird, crazy injury where he's been out the rest of the season. So lo and behold, at the end, the Brahmas are still standing. Tall order, obviously, it seems like, versus the Stallions, who kind of have been the class.
The Stallions
this realm for the last couple of years.
Yeah, they went 9-1 this season. Nobody else was better than 7-3 in the league, and so they, like you said, have kind of established themselves as the class of the UFL and were the class of the USFL prior to the merger last season. So, like you said, San Antonio's probably got their work cut out for them on Sunday in that one. I know you are a tennis fan, and you've kind of thrown some information and that type thing around that I've kind of had to pick my jaw up off the floor that you knew it. But Coco Gauff moved up to number 2 in the world rankings this week with her performance at the French Open. Is that right?
She had a solid tournament. I hadn't seen the rankings, but I knew she had a solid tournament and just continues. I just still have visions of her playing the U.S. Open as just a little teeny bopper a couple years ago, and she's still only 20, and she's getting better, it seems like. And she's in the mix to make some more Grand Slam noise. But number 2 in the world is pretty solid for young Coco.
What's next? Is she lost in the semis of the French Open? Is that right, or was it the quarters? Yep. Semis.
Yep.
Okay. So is Wimbledon's not next, is it?
The next Grand Slam tournament. Yeah, next Grand Slam for sure. Wimbledon coming up later this month / bleeding into kind of 4th of July territory there. But the French Open was fun. And didn't know that we would really be talking about this, but while we're here, I do want to point out that Carlos Alcaraz played a phenomenal. I watched almost all of this match on Saturday morning, and him and Zverev going toe to toe. And talk about another young up and coming talent who's already playing at a high level. This guy's 20, just turned 21, and we're already maybe discussing what's really the ceiling for him, because the tweet was sent out Saturday that basically, I was trying to find it directly, but Djokovic basically needs to kind of run up his score a little bit more, get as few more Grand Slams as he can, because Alcaraz now has won his 3rd, and he's only 21, and he looks like he's showing no signs of slowing down. He won the first set easy and then dropped 2, and you're thinking, oh, okay, maybe the moment's a little too big for him, but he rallied back in grand fashion to get the win on Saturday.
I wanted to make sure that we got into your wheelhouse a little bit. You keep up with this stuff, so I want to try to serve you up a little bit.
Well played, my friend. I see what you did there.
Yeah. Speaking of, we talked a little bit about the Belmont Stakes on Friday.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about Dornoch on Friday. What was it, 17-1?
That's what I remember, yep.
Well, paid off.
2 races too late for me, unfortunately. Didn't throw any cash on the Belmont at all, but like I mentioned Friday, I did have some bucks on him at the Derby, and Jason Worth is a happy boy right now, to say the least, after a big win for his horse.
That's interesting. I mean, I wonder how these folks get involved in horse racing, but certainly with particular horses, I guess. But yeah, Jason Worth, former major league outfielder, was a part owner, or is a part owner, of Dornoch, who again at 17-1 got into the winner's circle at the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga. What was with the change of venue? That's not where they usually run that, right?
Yeah, well,
I got the impression that it was somewhere different. And I don't keep up enough to know. So
yeah, that would be kind of news to me, and I didn't get to catch any of it. I didn't watch a single race, unfortunately. Yeah, first time taking place at Saratoga. Okay, they're renovating Belmont.
Okay,
so that makes it a little more.
So this will be a novelty then, huh?
Yeah, it could be, one of one type situation unless they continue into next year. So he could, I won the only Belmont that was ever ran at Saratoga.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
and I don't know if Mark has enough time to find the photo, but Worth holding the trophy is pretty epic. He was swagged out at the Derby, maybe even a little more so than he was on Saturday. But he's looking good. And Dornoch takes home $1.2 million just in the purse. And some shekels were thrown around on the side as well for those guys.
Oh, without question. Saw some news, scrolling through Twitter as we were wont to do, not long before we went on the air today. Former Kentucky women's basketball coach Kyra Elzy has joined the staff of former teammate Kara Lawson over at Duke. And man, I'm happy for both of them. Again, Kyra and Kara Lawson were teammates at UT from 1999 to 2001, advancing to the 2000 NCAA finals before losing to UConn. But Kyra signed and developed Ryan Howard at Kentucky, was dismissed up there, over this past offseason. 61-60 over 4 years at Kentucky after previously being an assistant under Matt Mitchell up there. She had also been an assistant at Western Kentucky, Kansas, and at UT. So again, rejoining a teammate over at Duke and Kara Lawson. So that should be exciting for both of them, and we'll see where that goes. Did you see, Wade, that the Steelers have extended Mike Tomlin?
I hadn't seen that, but man, that franchise does not change coaches, and Mike Tomlin is a guy that just finds ways to stick around. That is music to a lot of Steelers fans' ears, and some are probably going to groan. But man, he is a great coach, and again, that franchise does not they love their continuity. How about that?
They do love their continuity without question. I mean, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin since like 1969, I think. So Tomlin's 173 and 100 and 173, 102 in 17 years. Never had a losing record as an NFL coach. That's pretty solid to me.
They're gonna be fun to watch, I think, this year. Some big question marks about that division. I think a lot of folks just assume it's somewhat of a foregone conclusion. Baltimore's going to win, but I'm excited to watch Pittsburgh this year.
I think that division's going to be really competitive with Pittsburgh, with Baltimore, with Cleveland, with Cincinnati, and I'll be interested to see how the quarterback situation comes out in Pittsburgh. Yeah, man. Do they let Russ cook, or does Justin Fields work his way onto the field at some point? So there'll be a lot to watch up there in the AFC North, I think. I'm interested to see how that works out. Hey, thanks for joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back tomorrow, again, we will be joined by Doug Feinberg of the Associated Press and Chip Walters talking MTSU. So be sure and join us 2 o'clock right here. We'll see you then.